Checking the connections on YouTube. Guys, are we live? Let's go to Blog Talk Radio. How's everybody doing today? Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell if you want to get future notifications. I hope everybody is having a great time today. Yes, indeed. We are live, y'all. We're live. So we're checking all the connections, making sure everything is correct here. And we want to make sure that we have all the connections here. How is everybody doing? Come on in the chat room. We're taking your calls. If you want to call, 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. And today we're talking about, again, continuing our coverage, the planned insurrection versus the forced Trump ouster. That's what we're talking about today. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, my Cash App is also down there. Hit the notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe. We are in the building, ladies and gentlemen. How is everyone? I hope everybody had a good, nice Wednesday. Sorry for coming on late. Been having some issues of dealing with not only the computer wanted me to update some stuff, but had to do some other things just before we went on tonight. But as you know, I always post when we go on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, Tumbr. Okay, I always post on those three websites because that let us know. That let you all, the audience, know when I do go live. Hit that thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are live. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that thumbs up button if you're in the if you're in on the live or YouTube. So the planned insurrection versus the future Trump forced ouster. We're counting down to about 7 days to Joe Biden's inauguration. And the black media is on the ground. We are basically on the ground as we continue to talk about this insurrection at the Capitol. The Lawyer Henderson Show is live, y'all. 516-418-5867. We're coming on live around 11 o'clock. Sorry for coming on late again. 516-418-5867. For those of y'all who stand up late tonight with me, I'm so grateful. of that. And last week you heard me and my brother going through a host of making many of points regarding what's going on in America and what's going on specifically about the power structure. What's going on about why the United States is in the white supremacists are upset. Why there's so much white rage right now. We're taking your calls at 516-418-5867. Why is there so much white rage going on? The black media, we were on the ground. We were basically on the ground for when this insurrection had happened. And we were the ones that basically assisted the FBI, who is trying to basically scapegoat around charging these looters, these thugs, these white supremacists, and their forceful and unlawful entry at the U.S. state capitol, U.S. Capitol building in Washington. This insurrection basically showed you of all of the things that we've been describing as far as white privilege. And did y'all basically hear some of the charges that they were trying to charge a lot of these people with? We're going to find them, but what we'll do is we'll charge them with unlawful entry. We'll charge them with going into someone's office and that's disorderly conduct. You see, we're going to think of all of these light charges to charge these white supremacist thugs with. And this is the game that they're playing. Now, you know, with Negroes, they would have found all kinds of federal felony charges. The FBI is trying to pretend like they can't find all these people. It didn't take the police long, though, during the protests of George Floyd when the 11 blacks looted the targets. Oh, man, they had them real quick. The FBI and the police in Washington, D.C. and this mayor, they're playing games with the white supremacists. And the question also is that who shot this officer, Brian, is it named Brian Cisnik? Let me find his first name. But the question is that who shot him? And whoever shot him, if this is a country of justice, who believe in justice, shouldn't his family be seeking justice? Now, there is a situation where somebody is saying that this woman who was shot, this Ashley lady, got shot by a black state police officer or Capitol officer. I don't know how true that is, but that is the rumor going around on social media, especially within the black community. The black media is getting that kind of word. But let's just say, for instance, if he was shot by a black person or a white person. There was other people saying he was shot by a white person, but a white officer. So let's say if he was shot by a white officer, for instance. I mean, she was shot by white officers. Okay, this Ashley lady. Was they justified in shooting this Ashley lady? I'll get to her last name here in a minute and have all that information. But we know that 5 people died so far. Hundreds of, well, not hundreds, but at least 60 something, more than 60 police officers were injured. And then Brian Cisnik was was shot and went to the hospital and later died of his injuries. Who is basically going to be responsible for his death? That's the question. We're at 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. We're sorry for coming on late. And we're going to try to go back to our regular scheduled program at 7 o'clock. And I just need a little bit, like a week to get that all organized here. But the Los Angeles Times, we're continuing our coverage here. Fair use, we're going to use our fair use rights here. Los Angeles Times is reporting that 82 arrested so far in connection with the pro-Trump Capitol mob. Okay, the white media is finally is basically playing games again here. They do not want to call these people what they really are. They were intruders, they were invaders, they were white supremacists, a white supremacist mob. The white media has been very careful in identifying these white supremacists. A lot of them are thugs with badges. A lot of them were police officers. Okay, one of them was working at a huge car dealership, and I think he was working in the auto repair department. And they're calling Tariq Nasheed and the rest of the black media, they're calling us all kinds of names. They're upset because we have been calling them out. But Tariq specifically identified a white supremacist that was working for a car dealership, and they had people coming up there basically upset that he was saying that minorities was a piece of shit, and he was talking all kinds of crap about black folks. And they said that he had basically helped save a black woman because she was getting attacked by some white supremacists on the ground. And Facebook and the police, they did some posting claiming that that this guy was a hero. But then they had got him in another video talking all kinds of crap about blacks and minorities. And so he was later fired, and they were calling, and now the white supremacists are online. They're upset with Tariq and others. They're calling Tariq all kinds of race baiters and window lickers and stuff. They're calling us all kinds of names in the black media. Okay, they're upset with the black media because we have stayed on the ground. Okay, if you can find 11 black folks who were looting at a Target, FBI, you can find these people who are in connection with this Capitol riot, this violence, this insurrection, this mob, this white supremacist thug mob running in through the Capitol building and desecrating what our ancestors built some 237 years ago. If you can find 11 of these black people who looted at Target during the George Floyd protest or what have you, you can find all of these thugs that ransacked this Capitol building, that went into U.S. senators' offices, U.S. House of Representative offices, and ransacked the building. These thugs, and of course, social media is helping the FBI, making sure that the FBI get all the help it needs to basically identify who these thugs were. And some of them we're finding out is thugs with badges, i.e. the police. We knew that the police were involved in a lot of this. We knew that a lot of these people who came to the Capitol was off-duty police officers, and they were basically complicit in this particular intrusion, this insurrection, this uprising, this barbaric behavior, this incitement of a riot that is felony, should be basically should be felony charges here. So we're continuing our coverage on this white supremacist mob here. We're continuing our coverage. The black media was on the ground, making sure that we identify these thugs. And you know they're going to retaliate against us. They're going to retaliate not only against us here in the New Voices of Black Media, but they're going to be attacking Black folks in general. So we have to be very prepared for this, okay? Because typically when they arrest white people, a lot of white people, which were 82 arrests so far, according to the Los Angeles Times, but they're going to be going after Black folks. And do anybody know why they're really fighting? They're fighting over how we're going to be able to control these Negroes in the future. White supremacy from the right decide that they want to keep and make America great again. And they say that we should basically, this is the way we should be controlling the Negroes. And here come the Democrats saying, no, we need to talk about globalization. We need to trick the Negroes. We need to basically use them as guinea pigs. That's the reason why we got the vaccine and the virus out here. So you have the white supremacists from the right and the white supremacists from the left, and they're fighting over what the control will be in the coming world order here. Specifically, how they're going to control these Negroes. So watch out, just because you see right now white on white violence, don't be taken by that this is going to remain a white on white violence issue. The FBI is already looking for Black folks to arrest, and hell, no Black folks hardly showed up. They did have that Black female security guard who punched that white lady out, and after she did that, I understand that she was fired. They're trying to charge her as well. But the Los Angeles Times goes on to basically write that as of Thursday night, this article's on January 7th. Again, our fair use policy is just a critique. It says as of Thursday night, 82 people have been arrested in connection with the violent mob that overran the Capitol. You think? Well, officials are still making arrests and scouring videos and images from social media in pursuit of suspects. Data released by Washington Metropolitan Police and U.S. Capitol Police revealed the charges brought against the accused of participating in the riot. The most common charge was for violating the curfew imposed by Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser, which took effect at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. More than 60 people have been arrested on suspicion of curfew violation. Okay? Now, see, this Black woman, she's playing games here. Okay? You're getting them on the lesser of charges. You see? Now, if these were Black folks, there would be all kinds of felony charges they could think of. The article goes on to say that another 37 were arrested on suspicion of unlawful entry. Okay? Look at that, unlawful entry. Others were charged with assault, property damage, and an assortment of gun charges. Many were charged with more than one offense. Now, let's look at it. Now, they're calling this charges against the pro-Trump rioters. Is they calling them looters? No. Is they calling them criminals? No. Is they calling them thugs? No. Is they calling them, like they call Black folks, all kinds of lawlessness and criminals and just thugs, and they see the name wording here. The white supremacists and the white media like to play games when they basically write articles. But the Los Angeles Times article goes on to say that the charges against the pro-Trump rioters, all in all, 64 of the arrestees were charged with the curfew violation, which is basically the same thing as disorderly conduct. 37 of them was charged with unlawful entry. Carrying a pistol without a license is where 6 of them were charged with. Possession of unregistered ammunition, 5 people were charged. Possession of large capacity ammunition feeding device, 4. Assault on a police officer, 3. Now let's stop right there. There were assault on police officers throughout the Capitol. Throughout the Capitol building, there was assaults on police officers. They had a video of a police officer running for his life, and you were able to only identify only 3 people who assaulted the police. What about assaulting a government official? These people assaulted government officials, came into a federal building, which should have been federal charges. You see, you got Grandmaster Jay, who basically pointed a gun allegedly at officers on a roof, and he's getting charged with a felony. But you got these thugs who was pointing guns at Capitol Police, came with guns in a secured federal building, and all of the charges. As soon when you get to the serious one, you see how the numbers of the people charged drop to 1. Assault on a police officer, only 3 people charged. And we're looking at videos all over the place where police officers was assaulted. In fact, they were saying that some police officers was actually letting people into the building. So is this a stage? Was this stage? 2 people were charged with defacing property. 2 people was also charged with possess prohibit weapons, whatever the hell that means. 1 person was charged with failure to appear. Failure to appear where? 1 person was charged with intoxication. Hell, they were almost all of them drunks were intoxicated. But we can't use that as a way to excuse them for their behavior. And get this, only 1 person charged out of all of the 64. Some people are saying it's actually 82 people arrested. But get this, out of all of these white folks, 64 of them, only 1 person is charged out of the 64 people with riot act felony. You see how they're playing games here? All of these 64 people should have been charged with violation of the riot act, which is a felony. And look at this, only 1 person charged, according to the Los Angeles Times, for crossing a police line. Hell, they all crossed the damn police line. Only 1 person charged with a resistant arrest. 1 person only charged with unregistered firearm. Only 1 person charged with the possession of a firearm at a Capitol grounds. And when there was hundreds of them carrying assault weapons. But this was on January the 7th. Now they're claiming that this was 82 people arrested. Okay? So when you look at it, if there's 82 people arrested, most of them was charged with the lesser of crimes. It is only when you get down to the felony charges, such as resisting arrest or riot act felonies or stuff like that, the possession of a firearm at a Capitol ground building, you now start getting in your ones, your ones, your ones, your twos, your ones, your twos, your ones, ones, twos, ones. You see, the white media and this system of oppression, the criminal so-called justice system, playing games with us here. All of these clowns should have been charged with violating the Riot Act, which is a felony. Most of them should have been charged with possession of a firearm at the Capitol grounds. And a lot of them, like I said, should have been charged with inciting a riot, riot act violation, assault on a police officer because of their reckless and dangerous behavior. They should have been charged. 2 or 3 of them should have been charged with specifically with the death of Officer Sisnick. But see, we don't basically have a system that is going to provide the justice, the system, or the law fairly. You see, we have a 2-tiered criminal justice system, and this is proof. Almost all of them, 64% of them, majority of them, let's say all 82 of them, mostly charged with violating the curfew, which is a stop on a wrist. They're going to get out the next damn day. So here we have the government, the system, along with the white media. They're playing games here. They're very good in playing games. Now, when you look at the George Floyd protests, they had riot gear. They were out there. They had, hitting, shooting all kinds of tear gas on us and rubber bullets. They had all kinds of military weaponry out there during the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor protests. Okay, they only used a little tear gas at the Capitol. The police, they said, was basically allowing or even move the barricades so that these thugs can enter into the building. So we're talking about this particular issue. You see, the white media want this to basically happen. They wanted to show this so they can blame this on Trump, so that all of the people could say, this is the reason why we need Trump out of office. He is the one who incited this riot. You see, they're trying to focus on the only bad white man that's the president right now. When behind closed doors, we know there's a lot of you. Mm-hmm. That's because you have Black folks in the intellectual society who know better. We're not caught up into these lies that the civil rights generation and all of these old bootlicking Negroes tell us, and the white laying screen media. We're not basically even listening to them. When Black folks get their news, they're coming to social media. They're coming to the new voices of Black media because we call things down the line here. The violence and the insurrection that we seen at the Capitol last Wednesday, this was basically what that basically describes of the mostly of what the white privilege that white folks have in this country. And so you wait so long to bring in federal authorities and the military and all these people when everything calmed down. You see, we're identifying on social media who these thugs were. We're identifying who they were so that we can help the FBI arrest them. The FBI is playing games. They've basically been trying to pretend like we need your help on social media. If you can help us to identify anybody who took place in this, we really need your help. You see, the FBI is playing games here. The FBI can zoom in on a specific person when they're at a protest and say, we can basically find out who that person is in a matter of hours if they wanted to. It took them no time As we've already pointed out, about the 11 blacks they arrested for the looting a Target during the George Floyd protest took them no time to identify those black folks. So the white media is playing game here along with the federal authorities. So they're blaming everything on Trump. And notice that the white media is not calling them, like I said, thugs, like they call us at riots. They're not calling them any kind of names. The white media goes on to basically say that, oh, we are basically trying to get those charges in. We don't know if these charges are misdemeanors or felonies. Hint, white media, let the black media explain what they are. They are basically trying to give these white supremacist thugs all slaps on the wrist. That's what it is. Only one or two or three people charged with felony acts of rioting, and basically all of them should have been charged with them. These are the thugs. These are the people who we know that we can identify that we basically should have been charged with felonies and should be convicted by a jury of their peers. White media basically, again, specifically, but specifically CNN. CNN has been basically kissing Dr. Fauci's ass. They are basically in cahoots. And we also got word that Nappy Tappy Sharpton has basically sold out to Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci. But that's another subject matter for another day. We're still on these white supremacists who stormed and desecrated the U.S. Capitol building at the time that they were basically calling for Jim Crow Joe Biden to be certified as the next so-called president. Now, like I told you, okay, we know that they stole this election from Donald Trump. We know that. When we harken back to the election night, remember, they stopped at 3 o'clock. They start basically saying, wait a minute, no, we don't need this man to win again because his blatant racism is waking black folks up. We're allowing these Negroes to do, we got them doing everything that we want them to, and they basically is up there. They can't hit the snooze button because the racism is right in front of them. And hell, we in the New Voices of Black Media, we liked it. We like that. We basically want that. We wanted that. That right there basically was something that we wanted. We wanted the blatant racism in the New Voices of Black Media and Black intellectual society because that was basically waking black folks up. You see, now black folks, as Professor Black Truth have pointed out, now can hit the snooze button because they got old Jim Crow Joe Biden, and they really going to basically hit the snooze button now, especially women, black women, because you got Kamala Harris that may take over as the president should old Jim Crow Joe Biden basically fall into his stages of dementia, in which he's already showing signs of. This clown can't even remember a lot of things he had to say. They have to make sure that he don't even say the N word, which he wants to say so badly. And he did say why he was a member of Congress. You see, and then you have old Negro Jim Clyburn. He was out there as well. Now y'all know they ransacked my office down there. They ransacked it, and I can't even have the budget to my fish fry now. They ransacked everything. So you see, you had old Negro Jim Clyburn. He basically was upset because they took his, some devices for him. That's the only thing he's worried about, though. Negro Jim Clyburn, just like other black politicians, when they go to the Capitol building, they're not coming to fight for black folks. That's the reason why voting right now is immaterial. I got all kinds of advertising from the Democrats because I used to vote a lot. I used to be, like I said, inspired to vote for the Democrats because our parents in the civil rights generation kept saying, you got to go out there and vote. You got to go out there and vote. and vote Democrat. So we've been raised on just voting. And then now we basically start educating ourselves. We start listening to Amos Wilson and Dr. John Henry Clark. We start listening to our brother, all kinds of leaders in the Black community. We start reading books on Chancellor Williams. We start having the conversation. That then we start going and seeing our people getting shot and killed by the enforcement arm of white supremacy, i.e. the police, these thugs with badges. And we said, hold on, wait a minute now. All this voting that we're doing for the Democrats, and the Democrats are not charging these thugs. And we said, hold on here in the New Voices of Black Media. We were upset with the older civil rights generation because of that. The civil rights generation was leading us to think that we were getting something for in exchange for our votes. And so what we had to do is we had to wake the Black community up. And so therefore we suspended our parents in the civil rights generation and told them we have to get y'all up out of the room and the grassroots will take over. First thing that we said that we were not going to be voting for the Democrats if they're not going to give us our tangibles. They're not going to give us our reparations. We said we're staying home. And so therefore we start to see the white supremacists. They know that we were basically standing firm up against the police. And some of these police officers, of course, was there. They attended this riot. That's the reason why they were upset. These niggers, they basically standing up to us, and we got to show these niggers, and we got to keep Trump in office because we were able to come and we were able to use our guns where we want to. And you all trying to take away our First and Second Amendment rights. We're going to storm in the Capitol, and we'll be damned if anybody stop us. These people were basically assaulting the police. And you know, Black people, we can't do that to the police. The police pull out their guns and shoot us. Only one police out of all of these police officers at the Capitol, only one police officer shot and killed someone. One police officer. You see, this shows you how the police restrain when it's a white person. When if it was a Black person, oh, that nigger had a gun. Oh, well, I thought he had a gun. I didn't know he had a wallet. You see, it is that kind of situation. See, we know that the police can really de-escalate a crime if they wanted to. The fact is, they just want to kill Negroes because Negroes are the scapegoat in the American society. You see, as Dr. Umar Johnson pointed out, what do you do with 41 million Black folks you don't want in your society? You start using them as guinea pigs. You start using them as what Dr. Amos Wilson described as the rat in the cage. Black folks never figure out when they go into psychology that when the white scientists experiment on the rat, they don't understand that they are not being taught that they are the rat. In other words, they've been taught to just think of the rat in a situation, in dealing with issues, but they don't see themselves as the rat because they are the rat. That's a demonstration that has always been used, as Amos Wilson pointed out, in psychology. That the rat that basically gets tortured by the scientists, or if the rat does something wrong, it does not get food. You see, if the rat do something right, then it gets an award. If the rat does this or does that, it gets shocked. A dog gets shocked, or some kind of animal gets shocked if it does something wrong. If it does something right, it gets rewarded. You see, use this all the time in psychology. And so Black folks never understand what? that they are the rat. That was a valuable lesson Amos Wilson taught us. Now, ScrewTube is messing with my live here. ScrewTube is messing with my live, y'all. And we already knew ScrewTube was going to do this. But today's conversation, and I'm glad that you stayed up with us today, the planned insurrection versus the future Trump force Astor. Why is there so much wanting Trump out of office? Why is CNN pointing so many advertisements? Why they round the clock forcing to try to get this man out of office? The what they're calling the orange man. He's the mean guy. This guy is the meanest white man we've seen. The orange man. We gotta get him out. It is not white supremacy that is basically hurting black folks. Why? It's this orange man. Okay? Presidents, as we often understand, are puppets. Trump is not the only one causing these issues of killing and violence against black folks. There's a whole gang of white supremacists and police officers who basically stand in our way. He's not the only one who can stand in our way and engage in all kinds of murderous and killing behavior that the police department does to black people. All of the discrimination and racism that we basically endure, we're blaming only one white man. Yeah. Come on. And we know that old Jim Crow Joe Biden has basically his whole life have been against black folks. He has used his whole political career. Jim Crow Joe Biden has used his whole political career and making sure that there's policy that's against black folks. And you're talking about Donald Trump? Please. I've not really seen one legislation that Donald Trump did that was against black folks. Hell, I can name you plenty of laws and plenty of legislation of how Joe Biden was working with known segregationists when he was in the House and when he went on to the Senate, where he was basically using all of his pencil strokes, if you will, to basically hurt black folks in every angle. Give me a break. But NPR News also has talked about the insurrection and fair use. Give us the right to basically critique this. And I'm going back to an article on January the 7th of this year. Law enforcement and social media identifying U.S. Capitol mob members. Now remember, they're calling them Trump supporters or rioters. Okay? They're not calling them no criminals. They're not calling them no thugs. Okay? But the article goes on to write that, hold on here. Let's do a music break right quick. So the FBI is still playing games on claiming that they cannot find the persons in the riots. Okay? The FBI is still playing games, and when they call for social media's help, right? Immediately, a lot of people on social media, when they said, "Well, we cannot identify these people, we need help identifying people on social media." Man, a lot of folks just went there to start handing the police and the FBI a lot of pictures of these thugs. You even had white folks up there. This guy here, he is my next door neighbor. Y'all should go and arrest him. You had white folks want these folks arrested. The article from NPR News basically spelled out that at the time when the FBI was calling for us to help them basically to identify these clowns, these thugs, some of them, like this police officer from Houston, basically at this point of trying to play games like the FBI was doing, well, we need y'all to help us. And the Capitol Police, we need y'all to help us. So the Capitol Police resigned. They just hired a black woman as the acting police officer, the acting police chief. And the thing is that they always try to put black folks into certain positions. You know, they always do this. This is a way that when we're all watching a specific thing, they want to basically pretend like they're following their own laws. You know, white folks don't follow no laws. The judges, of course, all of these people are complicit in their own code with white supremacy when it's against us. And then on themselves, their own codes, so they basically don't have to really enforce real rules and laws. The FBI in Washington, D.C., they're trying to play games with us, trying to pretend like they don't know who these people are. They have no idea that they're police officers, like the one who came from Houston. He came all the way from Houston. He was a Houston police officer. He came all the way from Houston. The people came all the way here from Georgia. And I think that's where the Ashley woman was. They basically came out of the woodwork from all over the country. And the ones who basically didn't go to the U.S. Capitol, they were at the local state capitals. We demand y'all to overturn this so-called victory that y'all saying that Joe Biden won. You had them, they had basically did like a close-up on two of these white guys' teeth. I'm like, ugh! I was like, yeah, they had teeth missing here, missing there. It's like, ugh! Why did y'all get a picture? We know we wanted to identify these clowns, but but did y'all have to get a picture with these clowns missing teeth and talking all crooked and got finished chewing tobacco and it just looked like these are just those way dirty white boys that trailer park trash that basically hangs out in the far county, you know, the ones that only got like one sheriff and all that. It was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But you all on social media, when the feds said, oh, we need y'all help in identifying, boy, y'all took to Twitter with all kinds of pictures. You know, you had white people out there said, oh, you see, that's Jim. He's a police officer. We were quick to help the feds and to basically identifying these thugs. And even when we went and took out and did our civil duties as good Samaritans and what they like to describe us as moral citizens and stuff, we helped the government to identify these insurgents, these thugs, these vandalists, these criminals, these barbarians. When we helped you all feds to basically identify them, what did you do? Well, we can only charge them with disorderly conduct. We can only charge them with the break-in. We can only charge them with unlawful entry. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that there's not no soft charges on the federal level. There are. But come on. Now, if this was a bunch of black folks, you would have, oh yeah, Jeremy and Poo Poo and Jamisha and Kananisha and LaQuisha and Dante and all of them are charged with federal act of inciting violence of a riot. They will have felony charges here, felony charges there, felony charges every damn where. Let's get to the article by NPR. The FBI and Washington, D.C. Metro Police are asking the public for help identifying some of the people involved in assaults, break-ins, vandalism at the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday. The FBI is asking anyone with information to submit it here, along with any photos and videos. Now, when they asked for that, the FBI was bombarded. They were basically inundated with hundreds and even thousands of pictures of actual people in the Capitol showing their face, unmasked. Basically, here they can identify. Article goes on to say that Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Department had posted dozens of photos of some of the individuals whom is calling persons of interest. Now they're persons of interest who were part of the invasion of the Capitol. The police department is offering a reward up to $1,000 to anyone who provides information leading to an arrest. So when they started to say, "Oh, you get $1,000 turning these clowns in," and they got a number there. The number was 202-727-9099 or text 50411. The police were inundated. The Metro Police Department was in D.C. were inundated. All kinds of pictures, all kinds of photos. And so the D.C. Police Department put out a tweet and they said, they gave that number I just said, and they also said the MPD seeks assistance in identifying persons of interest responsible for unlawful entry offenses that occurred yesterday on U.S. Capitol grounds, 100 block of 1st Street Northwest. Okay? The article goes on to say, though, but already news organizations and people active on social media have begun identifying some of those who play prominent roles in the unprecedented scene at the Capitol. One of the most prominent is Richard Barnett. Now, Richard Barnett is very important, guys. We're going to tell you why Richard Barnett, this white supremacist here, this Richard Barnett character, now, he should have been charged with a felony. It's no word. I'm going to have to look up his charges. But this Richard Barnett basically was one of the leaders. It goes on to say, though, that he was photographed with his feet up on the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk. Afterwards, he proudly identified himself to the New York Times reporter Matt Rosenberg. So Matthew Rosenberg tweeted out, "Meet Richard Big O Barnett, who stood outside the Capitol, his shirt open and his chest bared, into the cold, loudly bragging about how he had broken into the Speaker's office." Now, this is the one we were talking here last week about someone who went into the Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office and took a selfies and putting their feet. Now here he comes with his old nasty drunk self, putting his feet all up on somebody's desk with his nasty Wrangler jeans on. This guy is one of the biggest, and he took some paper documents from her office. He looted and then bragged about. It goes on to say, though, that Barnett from Granville, Arkansas, is part of a pro-Trump group to a to a NWA stand. He told the Times he left a note in a quarter on Pelosi's desk. The Washington Post said he had posted comments on social media supporting white nationalism. After Barnett's photo went viral, the mayor of Granville, Kurt Maddox, posted a message on Facebook saying that local police have received calls asking how they would respond. Maddox said Barnett's actions aren't representative of the town. Yes, it is. That mayor is lying. Y'all have those white supremacists in that city real hardcore. They in there deep. They in there wholeheartedly. That's what I'm trying to say. Granville, Arkansas, come on. Y'all down there deep in there, Kurt. Don't be lying about trying to defend this white supremacist. Y'all down there real deep there in Granville, Arkansas. Y'all down there. Those them old white old dudes who basically come out with a shotgun when they see a black person and stuff in their neighborhood chewing tobacco, like I said. You boys from round here. They're those types of white boys. But this Barnett character, he should have been arrested and he should be charged with felony. He should have been charged with at least 6 felony crimes. Goes on to say here that we do not in any way condone violence, rioted, or breaking the law. He said. This is what the mayor said. Tim Giannett is another person who was involved in breaking into Pelosi's office. Giannett is a well-known activist, often described as an internet troll who has been banned from Twitter and YouTube. He goes by the name Bake Alaska, and he live streamed Wednesday break-in. So he basically gave everybody evidence of what he's done. This is a proud white boy, proud white supremacist, proud, this thug. He basically is describing himself here as just being proud about what he's done. And you don't have the white media out there talking about his felony charges and arrests and what should happen to him. The white media is still playing games, calling these people pro-Trump supporters. Another prominent character who was part of the mob inside the Capitol was Jake Angeli. Angeli is a Quanon supporter known for his pain face and horn-furred hat. He had been a regular at pro-Trump out rallies in Arizona. Angeli was one of those photographs standing on the Senate dais behind the desk where a little earlier Vice President Pence had been presiding. One of the most viral photos from Wednesday's mob scene captured a smiling man apparently still in one of the Capitol's lecterns. People on social media quickly identified him as Adam Johnson. Adam Johnson, FBI. He's from Parrish, Florida. The Bradenton Herald says his wife is a doctor and he has 5 children. You understand? Now look at this fool. He's showing a bad example of his kids. He's showing them how their father is up there acting a fool. His wife is in a reputable, position as a doctor, and his kids are basically saying, "Look at this fool at the Capitol with all this crap on his face, and a hat on, acting a fool and showing his true colors as a white supremacist. Oh, they have to really be very proud of their father. There has already been consequences for some of those involved. A Maryland company, the Vestar director marketing, said it has fired one of its employees. Photographed inside the Capitol, he hasn't been identified yet, but in photos, he was wearing a lanyard with this Vestar employee ID badge clearly visible. Okay, this fool showed up with his damn uniform on. How stupid you gotta be. This dumbass basically couldn't wait to get off work. He didn't go and had time to put on his white supremacist uniform, his white supremacist regular clothes. He went up there in his job clothes and had his badge on, and he basically were identified. This idiot. And it was good that they fired his ass. That's a clown with it. That shows you how dumb a lot of these white supremacists are. You're a NASVASTAR direct marketing executive, and you show up with your identification of the company you work for. You are a damn fool. Your boss looking at your ignorant ass all on TV. They had to take action because somebody was going to recognize this white supremacist and say, well, don't he work at that NASVASTAR as a director of marketing? And so NASVASTAR needed to basically, they hurry up and did what they had to do. Because later they were going to come and arrest him if the company didn't call him out. So they basically had to get it. The company had to basically make sure he was the hell out of here. They did him like that one guy that Tariq was calling out that had worked for, I think he worked for a huge car company, and they fired him real quick because there was people showing up and saying, oh, we saw him at the protest saying that minorities ain't shit. Like, dang. You see, and so a black news reporter by the name of Trey Ward, he was the one who actually identified the NASVASTAR direct marketing executive. Trey Ward goes on to say that a Maryland company has terminated one of its employees after he was apparently captured in a picture during the mob riot in the Capitol yesterday. Now, this article was written on January the 7th. Article writes that NASVASTAR Direct Marketing was made aware that a man wearing a NASVASTAR company badge was seen inside the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 during his security breach. After review of the photographic evidence, the employee in question has been terminated for cause. While we support all employees' right to a peaceful, lawful exercise of free speech, any employee demonstrating dangerous conduct that endangers the health and safety of others will no longer have an employment opportunity with NASVASTAR Direct Marketing. Now, this idiot showed up with his employee badge. Now, how stupid and foolish do you gotta be? This is how dumb some of these white supremacists are. They don't have no damn education. These were the fools who basically failed and was sleeping in class. This trash that you see showing up with his damn badge on, inciting a riot. Let's take a music break. Okay, so now, so I understand though that you know that the white supremacists. The only thing, like I said, the only thing I agree with them on is that Jim Crow Joe Biden did steal the election. That's the only thing I deal with. They put billions of dollars. Dr. Fauci and Bill Fakes, and Dr. Fauci, and all these other people, the director here at the CDC, all of them wanted Trump out of office. The white elitists and their black bootlegs, they wanted Trump out of office. These black folks who come on white television news shows, they get paid and they probably get a book deal and stuff like that. So they get paid to bash the Donald Trump, and that get them book sales. The white media give them a script and say, "You come on here and you say what we want you to say." And that basically, I guess, is supposed to influence us in the black community. It doesn't. Thank God that we have the new voices of black media. Here's the thing. There's 5 people who died from this insurrection. Okay? And the thing about it is that we want to know who are going to be charged with shooting this police officer. You see, the white supremacist police departments, they are always adamant about some nigger, he's pointing a gun here, he's pointing a gun. But this was a police officer who was actually shot by one of these white supremacists. And what we're saying is, where's the Capitol Police investigation on this particular murder? You don't have the white media out there basically pushing the narrative that this person should be going to, whoever it is, should be investigated, identified, and jailed and charged here. So the white media is playing games, as they always do when the suspects are white. We really basically here making sure that you as black folks don't hit the snooze button, but we're talking about this is a prime example of white privilege. You see, this planned insurrection that they basically had undertaken proves to you that white folks have a different set of rules that they play by. But the Negro, oh no, Negro, you cannot go up here and incite no riots. We're going to arrest you, charge you with all kinds of felonies. You see, a 2-tiered criminal justice system. A justice system that you and I know that it's not fair. You got a lot of black folks out here playing games, thinking that they got some rights every time they basically hanging out and thinking that they got fair and friends with these white supremacists just because they're sitting next to them eating a hot dog. Negro, you better wake up and smell the coffee. Trying to act bougie, and a lot of people got basically killed, and these white supremacists turned their back on them. Like, nigga, you try to act more bougie than I am. You better wake up. Now, I want to go back a little bit to the Los Angeles Times article here, y'all, because this is very important. It says in the Los Angeles Times, of course, we're still using our fair use rights because you already know that ScrewTube has always tried to. ScrewTube gave me a community violation last week. They were saying that, look, I was basically talking about how we have to start holding a lot of women accountable for their actions within their relationship with men. And we have to also hold the LGBT community together. And ScrewTube went off. They sent me this community guidelines violation and said that if this continue, Mr. Henderson, we're going to have to put you on a shadow ban. How dare you hold women responsible? How dare you hold the LGBT community responsible? You can't do that. You know, that's against our policy. Hell wrong with you, nigga. You can't be holding us responsible. You see, and as Kevin Samuels pointed out, remember Kevin Samuels, the black dude who went viral saying you're average as at best. He was basically also shadow banned by ScrewTube. You can't hold women responsible. You can't hold the LGBT community responsible. What the hell wrong with you, nigga? And as he pointed out, you had all these shows bashing black men, and still today, you had your Ricky Lakes, you had Rolanda, you had Mari, you had all of these shows bashing black men. But as soon as you start just doing one show on women or holding them responsible and holding the LGBT community responsible, you get shallow banned. Nigga, you can't be up here holding us responsible. But back to our topic of today's hand here. The Los Angeles Times pointed out that there was an estimate of how many people joined the insurrection varied greatly. Anywhere between 3,000 and 20,000 people participated according to the Crowd Continuing Consortium, a joint venture of University of Connecticut and Harvard that tracks protests. 5 people have died, including a woman who was shot and a U.S. Capitol police officer. More than 50 police officers were injured, according to the U.S. Capitol Police. No estimates have been released for how many individuals other than police have been injured. The number of arrests is being closely watched, with people drawing comparison to the clashes between police and Black Lives Matter protesters last summer, which resulted in mass arrests. You understand? And so this Bowser character, this not attorney, but this mayor, she's playing games. You see, if this was some black folks, she would basically have some arrests here. We only got 82 out of all of the numbers that I just presented so far. Only 82 arrests. And then the other white media, they're coming with different numbers here. But you get the point. The point is, it's not enough of these bastards been arrested. And so I was calling them out on this. I was making sure that you arrest these fools. You understand? And they claim that additional charges are coming. Well, hell, all of the charges you gave so far, hell, only 1 or 2 people have been given felonies. Now it goes on to say that this fool right here, I know you can't see him, this is Paul Davis, a Texas company, Goosehead Insurance, said it fired Paul Davis, its associate general counsel. So you had an attorney out there acting a fool. You see, even in the legal profession, you had judges, all of them, white supremacist police officers, judges, attorneys, all of them are in cahoots. We try to tell y'all this. All of them are complicit in a white supremacist organized attempt to suppress us, black folks. That's their whole ideology here. The article goes on to write here that in NPR, a Texas company, Goosehead Insurance, said it has fired Paul Davis, its associate general counsel, after his participation in Wednesday's violence. Davis posted a video complaining of being tear gassed as the mob was trying to enter the Capitol. Roger Sullenberger tweeted that this is Paul Davis. Paul is a lawyer. He is also the Associate General Counsel and Director of Human Resources at Goosehead Insurance. Today, he stormed the Capitol building in an attempt to stage a coup against the U.S. government and document on Instagram. Follow Goosehead. Now, this fool is a goosehead, and he's a dumb one at that. So, all of you white supremacists and you black bed wenches and you goddamn bootlicking Negroes who've been talking about me being a bigot, here's a damn attorney doing the same thing. He showed up with his white supremacist uniform. And so when we call them out, we're the racists, right? This clown showed up and knowing that somebody was going to identify his ass. And he's supposed to be an attorney at law, just like these old thugs with badges who are supposed to be enforcing the law. But the FBI is playing games here. They're claiming that we need more help. Oh, yeah, we brought you help. We brought you help. We basically identified, man, you go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to all of these social media, and we have been, with phone calls, we have basically been flooding the FBI's line, getting these bastards arrested. If the white media know anything about fair news reporting, at least it should basically follow up with what we're saying on social media. Come to the new Voices of Black Media and get your information so that we can find these fools who desecrated and violated the law here. Then it goes on to say from U.S. News that more charges filed against a man who wore a furry hat in riot. Additional charges have been filed against an Arizona man who authorities said took part in the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol while sporting face paint, no shirt, and a furry hat with horns. Now, who the hell is this clown? An indictment unsealed Tuesday in Washington charges 33-year-old Jake Chansley with civil disorder. Look at the charges: obstruction of official proceeding, disorderly conduct in a restricted building, and demonstrating in a Capitol building. It's unclear whether new charges are felonies or misdemeanors. Now, I can tell you right now, there's only one soft misdemeanor here. And I want to say, I know that the civil disobedience, that's a misdemeanor. Obstruction of official proceeding, a misdemeanor. Disorderly conduct in a restricted building, misdemeanor. And demonstrating at a Capitol, misdemeanor. The only thing that might be a felony is this obstruction of official proceedings. I don't know. Depends on Washington law. But here's the problem with this, or DC law, or whatever. But here's the problem with this. They basically were trying to play games and identifying these fools. They don't want to put all these white supremacists in jail because here's the thing. The white supremacists are turning on the police. And they don't like that. They don't like that, do they? Because they know that both of them are in cahoots with each other. They know that both of them are saying the same things here. And it's all about, well, how we're going to basically control these niggers. We're fighting over who is going to basically be in charge of treating the Negroes like we've all been treated. Is it going to be the right arm of the enforcement of white supremacy or the left arm of the enforcement of white supremacy? We got different ideals as to how we're going to basically treat these niggers. And this is what this fight is about. If you look real deep into it, this fight is about who is going to be controlling us. So the planned insurrection was about trying to have these white supremacists to keep Trump in office while the liberals are basically saying, no, we have to work with the other minorities and we can help them with this one world government. And but because you know who's going to basically have to basically deal with all of the oppression and the oppressive behavior that we're going to cause them, you know it's not going to be the white people, I mean the Hispanics or whites or Asians. Why, it's going to be these Negroes. So forcing Trump out of office means that we fight the Republicans and conservatives because their ways are basically, it's the old way. You're showing the Negroes this blatant racism, and we don't need that right now because the Negroes is out there turning up. They're getting sick and tired, getting shot by the police. They up there flipping over police cars during the George Floyd protests, and during when these thugs came and shot Breonna Taylor. They're digging deep into our white supremacists background, and they're basically becoming very, very strategic. You see these Negroes and the new voices of black media, these 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 what you call them, the grassroots people, they're becoming very, very strategic as to calling out the white supremacists. So we got to get Trump out of office. This blatant racism, he's not talking nice to the Negroes. So we got to make sure that if we're going to continue to stay in power and align ourselves with other people, because we're becoming a minority by 2045, we're going to have to basically start to make sure that we get Hispanics and Asians and others to help us. They'll be classified as helping us as white supremacists. The struggle to control the Negro. It is the white supremacists from the right versus the white liberals from the left. Now, in closing, I told you all, like I told y'all about the Democrats. One thing that we learned from the Democrat Party is that the Democrats was the Republicans during the days of Reconstruction. The Democrats have never been loyal to anybody. The Democrats has shown that they're not even loyal to the white supremacists because they are white supremacists, but they are more polished. They're not out here showing their blatant racism. This is white trailer park trash that's doing all the noise talking. You understand? But you have to understand what's going on here. The Democrats have never, ever, ever been loyal to any race or any people. They have sold out they have basically trade. Let's say trade. Remember, they have basically, during Reconstruction, there was the Fusion Party. Then you had the Republicans. And remember, during Reconstruction, and this is the second phase of Reconstruction, the Democrats basically, during Reconstruction, went to the Republicans and said, listen, this is a white man's country. It should be ran by white men and white people. This is what we mean by white supremacy. We have white folks only in the authority of the world, and there's nobody basically participating in policy making. And so they're window dressing up there at the Capitol. Black folks don't have no power. If black folks had power like the Congressional Black Caucus, they'll be able to give us our reparations. You wouldn't have to vote and not get anything in exchange for that vote if black folks had power in this government or in the world in general. But the Democrats have never been loyal. During Reconstruction, they were because of the 12, 13, and 14 Amendment, they were supposed to be working with black folks. We were supposed to be working with the economic, participating in the economic inclusion of this country. They basically, like I said, came with white rage and told us that we better get out of town by sundown. Now, here in 2021, here is your second phase of Reconstruction. What? The Democrats is basically turning against the Republicans, saying that, oh, it's this mean Trump, and we're going to have to be focusing on globalization. In other words, we don't need you hardcore white supremacists out there talking bad about black folks when we have globalization. We have the Hispanics, they want to be white like us, and we got the Asians. We got Orientals. We're over there in Africa right now, and we're basically uh, wanting to oppress them, just like the Arabs and all these other people are doing. We're thinking about globalization as liberals. This is the second Reconstruction. Your first Reconstruction is that this is a white man's country, should be ran by white men. Your first Reconstruction in 1870s. Now look at here. Your second Reconstruction. The Democrats changed against the Republicans and basically turned on them for globalization with the alliance with Asians and Hispanics, trying to basically create a one world government to destroy us, black men and women. And unfortunately, we have black people basically complicit, as we've always saw throughout history. Black folks have always been complicit in our demise. That's the reason why Reverend Nat Turner got caught. That's the reason why uh, um, Harriet Tubman got caught. You've always had some black person who went back to the slave master. Well, boss, I'm glad I found you, boss. Them Negroes are trying to do an uprising. They try to do an insurrection. Well, slow down, boy. Tell me where they at. And the white supremacists came with their guns and they stopped the rebellions. Stopped the rebellion. Because these Negroes, so we got Boule Negroes among us. We have bed wenches among us. Every basically revolt, we had a Boule, bootlicking, butt dancing Negro or some bedwitch whore who basically went back to the slave masters and told them about our insurrection. And this is the reason why we have been oppressed so long. Of course, they're claiming now that these people who basically have been arrested and charged, like I said, they're only getting slaps on the wrist, misdemeanor charges. They letting you know they're all on code. Okay? Yeah, we got to show everybody, we got to show these Negroes that we're fair, we equal. So yeah, we're gonna arrest these guys. Got 90 seconds here. We're gonna arrest these guys and we're gonna basically make sure that they get all kinds of punishment. But you know, they're not gonna be the same punishment as you think they're gonna be. I think they are. They're gonna be slaps on the wrist punishment. All right, so for Blog Talk Radio, we're going off air, but we're going to stay here on YouTube. ScrewTube is basically has been always on me. They've been monitoring me. They've been shadow banning me for some apparent reason. Of course, like I said, they said a community violation, but ScrewTube, that's fine. You know, the platform. We're not going to stop what we're doing. You understand? You did? So, all right. So we're going to sign off here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll keep it going on YouTube. So just hold on here as we sign off on our radio broadcast on Blog Talk Radio. And folks, if you're still watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button. So my audience on Blog Talk Radio, thanks for listening tonight. And so hold on, guys. This is trying to get this. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this out. Guys, while I'm doing that, go ahead and get the lights and thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button while we're closing out our Blog Talk Radio show. We are still screening live on YouTube. Hit that YouTube subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you like the video, share and subscribe. Now, CNN has been, oh man, they hate Trump. They have been complicit. They've been basically working with Dr. Fauci on trying to get us the vaccine. As I've been telling you, Dr. Fauci now got Al Sharpton. They got him on board. Lord knows how much they paid Al Sharpton to start trying to get us to take these vaccines. But they got him out there. But they got that, CNN. This is the reason why it took a lot of black folks a while to stop listening to the mainstream media, specifically CNN, because we thought CNN was liberal. Oh man, CNN has been complicit. And some of the things that basically, when they brought, like I said, and like Professor Black Truth been saying, when they brought on Jeffrey Tubin, y'all remember Jeffrey Tubin? I think he was their white supremacist attorney that they would bring on. He got caught in a live video screen, beating his monkey, jacking off and stuff. Let's go. But CNN has been complicit in to try to get black folks to think that we're living in a liberal society. But I want to read, though, how CNN tries to play the game with black folks, trying to get us to believe and other people to believe that they're liberal and that this country is liberal and that the Democrats are better than the Republicans, when we know that the Democrats have been very complicit, along with the white supremacist media. They've been complicit in our demise. When the police shoot and kill black folks, you got CNN bringing on white supremacists like Jeffrey Tubin coming on. They've been complicit here. But the article basically that CNN wrote for the about the insurrection was key takeaway from Wednesday's development in the Capitol riots investigation. Okay. 1 week after the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, federal law enforcement dragnets to arrest the violent trespassers kicked into high gear. Now, notice CNN is trying to say, "Oh, you got police arresting people everywhere." See, that's the narrative they're trying to paint here. So black folks can say, "Well, y'all didn't arrest nobody. Y'all took a long time to arrest these folks at the Capitol." CNN like to play that game with us. The article goes on to say at CNN.com that nearly a dozen new known defendants were arrested or are charged across the country. And the Justice Department made it clear it was throwing its weight around behind pursuing major cases that may amount to the most extensive counterterrorism probe since September the 11th, 2001. Okay, see CNN playing games. They're using Trump's speeches to try to get us off the situation that this is not a radical Republican Trump type rhetoric. That this is a basic down hard white supremacist as a collective group. White supremacy is collective. And that's the reason why you can't separate Fox News from CNN. They do the same thing. And then it goes on to say on CNN that police officers in Swinger charge. The new arrest on Wednesday brought a total number of new federal criminal cases to at least 32 by nightfall, with hundreds more individuals still being sought or investigated. Over the past week, investigators have tracked down some of the most notable faces from the riot. On Wednesday, a federal court made public charges against two police officers from rural Virginia who shared a photo on social media of themselves posted in front of the statue of the Revolutionary War General in the Capitol. Now, notice they didn't say who that was. Swimmer Khalid Keller, who won the Olympic gold medals in 2004 and 2008, was identifiable on video from the riot party because of the Team US jacket he wore. According to the federal court records made public Wednesday, he has also been charged for taking part in the violent trespass. You see, average white supremacists that goes to your neighborhood stores and shop with you and even joining your white supremacists out here. You know, like I said, we talked about this in the New Voices of Black Media, how white folks have really overran the Black Lives Matter. That's not a black organization, but they're using the deaths of black people to try to say that they, basically are, feeling some type of pain and sorrow for our suffering, the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and hundreds of more black folks who've been shot at the hands of these white thugs. We basically are looking at what's going on here, and CNN has been complicit in these shootings and killings of black folks. And that's the reason why we turned up on CNN at the George Floyd protest. The article from CNN goes on to write that yet another infamous alleged rioter who had worn a Chimp Auschwitz sweatshirt on January 6th, Robert Keith Packer, was arrested Wednesday in Newport News, Virginia. They always try to relate everything to Jewish people. Most of the recent charges drew attention to themselves by posting and photographs that circulated on the internet or were identified themselves on social media. Some have even admitted their involvement in the Middle East and the FBI. The unfolding new cases still largely target people caught in the photos or videos. Evidence suggests planning, law enforcement says. The attention is likely to pivot to cases with more serious charges in the coming weeks. You see how CNN play games? More serious charges. What are they? You're not telling me what the serious charges are. You had other white supremacist media talking about, we're confused. We don't know if these charges are misdemeanors. We don't know if they're felonies. But here you got CNN talking about more serious charges. Hell, where are the serious charges you're talking about from the outstart, in which these thugs with badges have charged them with? They have been mostly misdemeanors or slaps on the wrist. Stuff that you take care in local municipality courts. Goes on to say that this has prompted more complex investigation where public integrity and national security prosecutors have come together to approach the investigation like a swirling terrorism probe. See? You see how CNN play games here? This is not no probe basically treating them as terrorists, what they really are. And CNN has been hesitant to call them white terrorists, this domestic terrorist violence up on the Capitol. They have been very, very, careful to basically call them that. No difference than the white supremacists from the far right. The prison of the corruption prosecutors and agents is in part because of their expertise in financial investigations. We are following the money, the official says. Oh, you can tell that some Jewish person is behind that because that's who followed the money. By Wednesday morning, the FBI reported that it has received more than 126,000 digital tips from the public regarding the attack on the Capitol, and it was tracking online chatter. Now, see, look, the FBI is playing games. Remember, I told you that they were claiming that they need help. Now, they've been flooded with phone calls, social media things, posts, dialogue, pictures of these white supremacists. It's more than 126,000. Trust me. It's more than 126,000. Among the tips the FBI received are some of that appear to show members of Congress with people who later showed up at the Capitol riot, two law enforcement officials said. This doesn't mean members of Congress and staff are under investigation, but the FBI is checking a veracity of claims, the official says. You had one member of Congress or the House or Senate or whatever. She was in the chamber praying. Oh no, please, Lord, don't let these white supremacists come and get us. Please, God. And thank you, Jesus. And she was talking all in tongues of what she learned at such and such Baptist church with Reverend Porkchop and all these other. This is the reason why it's dangerous to send a lot of these people who are coming from the church. You got Reverend Warnock, this character out here talking about what he learned from the church. They're already attacking him. But they need Warnock in office so they can basically the liberals can do their pretend job, if you will, on black folks, like they've always did on our parents. See, they have been basically our parents, the civil rights generation, have been allowing them to play these games with us and want us to go out and vote. They knew that we were on cold this election year, so they started to have all of these advertising. They had, like I told y'all in my other commentary, they had advertising. They were sending out here in Georgia. They've been sending out John Ossoff. They were sending out him and Warnock's pictures talking about vote him, vote Warnock, vote Ossoff. They were basically hanging door advertisers. They knocked on my door. They basically was very forceful to get us to vote because they know that we were basically saying, no, where's our tangibles at? You see, the white liberals cannot play the same games that they played on our parents. And then, of course, you have the black millennials and Gen X. They are really focused on the grassroots level because we've been basically educating them here. But back to this foolish article by CNN, it goes on to write that a few cases have been made clear. The level of dangers around the Capitol last week, in particular, two defendants, Cleveland Meredith Jr. and Lottie Kaufman, are alleged to have brought arsenals to the city with interest in joining the so-called war. Kaufman received one of the first indictments from a grand jury related to the riots and now faces 17 criminal counts, largely for possessing of multiple weapons, including ammunition, shotgun shells, and various guns, including a shotgun, a rifle, 3 pistols, 11 Molotov cocktails without registration in the Washington, D.C. on January 6th, according to the indictment. So only one white supremacist get these heavy charges, 17 criminal accounts. And see, this is what the white supremacist liberal media does. It just basically points out that only one white supremacist will get tough charges, while all the other ones are going to get slaps on the wrist. And that's how the white supremacist media from the left play games with the white supremacist media of the right. It goes on to say, though, that he is alleged to have parked his truck filled with bombs blocked from the Capitol building before Trump's rally after living in a trunk in D.C. for about a week. In court documents regarding Kaufman, prosecutors revealed they found handwritten notes of an Abraham Lincoln quote about overthrowing the men who pervert the Constitution. Phone right-wing personalities, including Senator Ted Cruz and Sean Hannity, and a list of labeling a federal judge a bad guy and a member of Congress as a Muslim. He had pleaded not guilty and in jail awaiting trial. So see, now they're trying to kick the narrative to us that, oh yeah, we uncovered just one hardcore white supremacist, and he was living in his truck for a week, and he showed up at the Capitol with all kinds of weaponry. Now, how can this fool who cannot afford no damn hotel room show up with all of this damn ammunition and guns? He lived in his truck for a week, but he had the money to buy all this damn guns and all this types of bombs and all of these other types of ammunition. But his ass can't afford a cheap ass hotel for a week. Give me a break. Meredith is alleged to have made threats in a text message and had with him and the city's 2,500 rounds of ammunition, an assault rifle, and another gun. You see how these white supremacists plan? They come strapped. He arrived in Washington, D.C. after the pro-Trump rally and had allegedly gleefully texted about shooting D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He wrote about wartime against lawmakers as the congressional confirmation of Joe Biden as the president-elect near, prosecutors say, according to court filing Wednesday. You see how the white liberal media play games here. They done got some random white supremacist dude who who basically have nothing to lose. He's broke, but he got all this ammunition. Doesn't make sense to me. The article goes on to write that defendants sent a text message stating, "We're going to surround DC slowly, constrict." Prosecutors noted, arguing his detention, apparently under the impression that law enforcement was monitoring his communication. That the defendant later sent a text message stating, "I'm harmless. I won't fire until ordered, sir." Once Meredith was in town, he allegedly headbutted and assaulted a person, the prosecutor added. His threats were graphic. He threatened to shoot a public official on live television, to put a bullet in her head. His threats were vulgar and misogynistic. What is more, the defendant clearly took great pleasure in envisioning violence, which he described as a fun and target practice, they wrote in his detention memo. You see, they only went after one dirty, poor white man. That's what they often do. At least some of the arrests are already made are part of a strategy used in counterterrorism investigations to find even a minimal charges to take person of concern off the street. That could help ease concerns about possible attacks on the inauguration, officials believe. Authorities have already tried once last week before the pro-Trump rally in Washington when they arrested the leader of the right-wing group, the Proud Boys, Henry, is it Enrich Terrio? I don't know what his middle name is, for burning a Black Lives Matter banner. You see, they have to give you certain types of points that make it stick in your head that they're going and they're tough on crime. You see, listen how the mainstream media say things. It basically gets you to think that, oh, they're going seriously after people when they're only going after two dirty white boys who can't afford a hotel room. but showed up with all of this ammunition, huh? Go figure. Article goes on to say that law enforcement then said that they found on him two high-capacity firearm magazines, prompting additional charges. And this week, federal authorities in New York arrested a man on weapon charges again, after investigators pursued online posting about an armed caravan headed to the U.S. Capitol. You see, this is what they're trying to say. There's more arrests, but we see that most of these fools have been only charged with minor crimes. Disorderly conduct, you can get out. You can get a damn. You can get out on your own recognizance within a day on that charge. But CNN goes on to write, see, and they're the finding of what these people have and writing their notes. This is trying to get the society in America to say, oh, they basically are arresting people. But notice they're going after people who we're like, well, where the hell did these people get all of this ammunition if they broke? And sometimes you have the white supremacists and the police, what they'll do is they'll coordinate somebody who's doing jail time already. They'll let them out and give them like a name, a fake name or something. And he shows up. He was already doing some type of crime where he killed his wife and his kids, or he killed a black person. They'll let him out for a moment, and then they'll basically then rearrest him. But he's already doing time. You know, they like to do that type of stuff too. But it goes on to say that, but its strategy may have limits. The Justice Department may hit up against the potential limits of the law as they try to keep some people locked up, with Meredith their first challenge. The possibility arose Wednesday when a judge pushed back on their ask to keep him detained. Meredith lawyers have argued that keeping him locked up because of perceived dangerousness alone is not enough under the law. You see how the defense is coming with this whole strategy now? Congress restricted the government ability to request detention, Meredith lawyer wrote in a court filing Wednesday afternoon, citing Bail Reform Act limitations. The reasons defendants can be kept in jail must be because they are a flight risk, potentially obstructive, or charged with crimes of violence, a drug offense, or offense that could merit a life sentence or death. You see where they got Bill Cosby on? You see that they said that R. Kelly was a flight risk. All of a sudden, this attorney is saying, no, this man, this Meredith character, oh, and the other white supremacists, no, they're not flight risks. You should let them out, because the Bail Reform Act says that you can't, the Bail Reform Act limitations, oh, you can't do this, judge. You can't do this. Damn. How many of y'all know that there was a Bail Reform Act until now? That suggests that you only have to do certain types of things as a judge to keep clients in jail who have been accused of felony charges or other crimes. How did y'all know that? How many of y'all in the black media know that there was a Bail Reform Act limitations law? I'm just asking a question here. Meredith's lawyer argued he should be released while he awaits his trial. Meredith has not yet been indicted and was arrested last week on criminal complaint alleging that he illegally possessed Wednesday and made the threats. He is still detained and set to appear before Judge Michael Harvey in Washington, D.C. again on Thursday regarding whether he should remain in detention. So I just see this is what CNN do. That's the reason why we can no longer rely on the mainstream media. Your mainstream media has basically been bought out. Corporations control them. You see, and if corporations control them, then that's the reason why you're not getting the whole take. You see, they describe certain types of details only in one or two or maybe three or four people's cases to make sure to get you to think, oh, these are real serious charges. And as CNN put it, remember they said, and more charges, serious charges are coming. What the hell is the serious charge? And so they only described two white supremacists that had all this weaponry, and yet you see all these people storm in with guns, and yet you only got two people. You see, this is how we know that they are very complicit. They know that the people who showed up is what? It's their counterparts. The government knows it. The Proud Boys is no different from the police. The politicians, the white supremacists, are no different. You basically you don't have the numbers, so you cannot basically charge all of these people. So you got to just go after just one or two specific folks, because these are the people you basically are in cahoots with. So when you're in cahoots with these folks, you basically are not going to give them no serious charges here. Let's be frank. If these were black folks, oh, we're going to charge these niggers, and we're going to make sure that we put the books to you niggers. And if the law allows me to, I wish I could charge you niggers with more. They come up with all kinds of ways of charging black folks. This is crazy how they only getting these slaps on the wrist because they know that your Proud Boys are in cahoots with the police. A lot of these people who showed up, they have there was one politician who showed up. He was basically a state representative. You had two police officers, one of them from Houston, two of them from Houston, one of them from Houston, excuse me, and two of them from another state. I want to say Maryland. You had this woman who got shot and killed. I think she was from Georgia. She showed up. That woman who got shot and killed. So you had them, like we described, showing up in their uniforms. Their badges are worn. And their damn white bosses on TV look at this fool got his badge on. We got to hurry up and do something about this. We don't want them to think that we are running a white supremacist organization. So CNN plays games with us. CNN knows that they are playing games. That's the reason then why it was easy for Dr. Fauci and all of your white elitists behind closed doors and your bootlegs like Al Sharpton. It's easy for them basically can sell the liberal message to people. That's what they did with the civil rights generation. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about when he asked the question, well, who the hell is civil? Where do he stay? We don't know where civil stay. Let's stop talking about civil rights. As Malcolm pointed out, we have to elevate this to human rights because you're going to be under Uncle Sam's jurisdiction. That's what he taught us in the 1960s. These white supremacist thugs that basically barged their way unlawfully in the Capitol, breaking all kinds of laws. If black folks would have done this, you would have had thousands of Negroes in jail. They would have been so packed in these jails that they would have had to scatter these niggas in other states because this is how the system is. No white person is supposed to be held accountable because they're all in cahoots. They're all on code. That's the reason why, trying to be a bootleg, that doesn't work for black folks. Because black folks have always, when white supremacy get finished with their tools, and Professor Truth says, they destroy their tools. And this is what you're seeing. You're seeing the fact that your Al Sharptons and your other boulets, They basically, your roly-poly Martins and all these people, they're basically people that nobody wants them. That's the reason why Roly Poly is on YouTube with us. Because they basically were done with him. He served no purpose to them because they were saying, well, why will we hire him when we can just bring on somebody who's trying to promote a book, a black person who is trying to promote their book, bring him on or her on, and basically we can basically sell the sell the narrative that we're liberal, just bringing in them for commentary, but maintain a white supremacist organization that is backed up by corporations that are white supremacists, backed up on the influence by the white elitists. You understand? So we have to be very careful about what we basically look at on the mainstream media. That's why a lot of us say that we are basically not listening to the media no more. Why? Because the media is propaganda. It basically will not tell the truth about what's going on in society. It keeps us brain dead. And I know a lot of you have been doing a good job. Y'all have been saying, well, I haven't watched TV in years. Good. You come over here and you watch the new voices of black media. We even have white subscribers. And that's okay. But what we don't know if they're trolls, we don't know what they are. But the point is we're trying to make is that the white supremacists know that their numbers are dwindling. They don't have the type of power that they have. So they have to blind you by putting in all kinds of black folks, Hispanic people. When we turn up, they'll give you a black police chief or somebody. They'll give you a black person who's supposed to be the head of this department. Notice right after the riot, they put that black woman as the police chief of the Capitol building. They're trying to give you certain types of gestures that have worked on our parents during the civil rights movement. But it should not work on you, the new black millennials and us here in the black generation, the younger black generation. We should not be looking at this as some kind of advancement here. We have to look at this article as what these people are. They're thugs, they're criminals, they're barbarians. They are inciting this insurrection, and it was planned. Bottom line. Okay, y'all, that's it for today's commentary. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to like the button. Like the video. And if you would like, go ahead. I have the cash out. That's $Lawyer Henderson 40. You can donate to the show to keep us going. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Lawyer Henderson TV. I want to thank all of you for listening, and go ahead and share the video. I know ScrewTube has always been monitoring us ever since I came on just a month ago. ScrewTube is already on my tail. I'm like, I didn't even really get a chance to get all that long. Here comes ScrewTube. And all right, now you basically holding this person accountable, holding that person accountable. Wait a minute now, nigga, you getting out of line here. But it's going to be all right, ScrewTube. We're going to basically give you your props for at least letting us go live. We're very respectful of that. And we thank you. Thank everyone for watching, and have a good night. Thanks for staying up late with me. Good night.